Dragon Ball Super Dope Plus Ultra if you're nasty. My name's Kyle. Thanks for checking this out. We're going to be talking about episode 168 of My Hero Academia today. Epilogue, the Hellish Todoroki Family Final. Transliteration, not going to do it because you know why. So I took a decent chunk of notes for this episode today, just about a full page. I am going to read through the synopsis in totality. I'll probably stop at points throughout as we kind of chunk it out for what, matches up with my notes. But the opening for this episode, I said it on the Patreon, and I keep saying it on the Patreon pre-show. These are a little overwhelming for me in that I feel like I gloss over details sometimes. So in one of the earlier episodes this season, when Bakugo pulls off this big flame attack against All For One, he effectively alters the weather makeup in the region. And this big bout of snow, rain, bad weather, generally speaking, is suddenly cleared up and it changes the weather forecast. And I remember watching that piece of that episode. I want to say it's 164 or something like that. I forget. But I remember watching that episode before I recorded it, thinking maybe they're getting at something, and not really connecting the dots, understandably, because it comes back today, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second. But it just made me cognizant of you're not getting everything, you dummy. You're glossing over details, idiot. This is one of those things. So I'm really glad that it's given me an opportunity to talk about it today. I'm just going to read you the weather report line for line from the beginning of this episode, because it does kind of speak to that event that I just summarized, but also is the perfect precursor to set up your expectations for what the finale or the last few episodes or this epilogue is going to essentially be. So let's do that here. Skies should be clear all across the U.S. today. It looked like we were in for a rough week, but I'd like to apologize for how wildly off that forecast turned out to be. But be careful while doing laundry. The wind is still blowing hard out there. What impact will the gust of wind that blew that day have on this world that's been through a major conflict? Let's take a closer look at that forecast. So it's kind of fucking goofy. And they do yell at the girl who's doing the news forecast or the weather forecast. Stop ad-libbing weird shit. Because it's not the first time we've seen her in this season. So it's a funny little callback to seeing her before. But it is super emblematic of what we're about to, see these characters do over these last 3 episodes, which is a bummer to think about. So let me just start reading the synopsis and see what matches up with my notes here, okay? In the aftermath of the war, restoration begins as any available heroes, particularly those from America and around the world, assist in the cause. Yeah, last episode I said I wasn't sure if it was America or not because the flag looked weird. But I went back and watched the episode 3 or 4 more times last week after I recorded because that episode was that good last week. And I was like, oh, that looks like the White House. It's probably America. But America and other countries from around the world are sending their heroes to assist. At Central Hospital, a doctor informs Bakugo about the significant damage to his body and arm, but he insists on going through the long rehab process. Bakugo, it's already a sad moment because this could have potentially impacted his ability to use his quirk for the rest of his life, to the point where they're make the recommendation, hey, you could get a prosthetic like Mirio did with her fucking legs. Right? Was it her legs? It's her legs, I think. Which probably good for her. We're not getting into Mirio's prosthetics right now. My point is Bakugo automatically rules it out because his quirk needs his body sweat to explode. So if it's a prosthetic, he's better off just trying to rehab it at this point. And, that makes all the sense in the world. But it is a sad point for him to be starting this episode, considering what the next scene is when he shows up again. Izuku and All Might recover together in another room as Izuku laments on being unable to save Shigaraki's life. But when he remembers his genuine smile as he told him to do his best, All Might surmises that Izuku did save Shigaraki's soul. All right, so I watched this episode this morning in bed, And then I watched it again later. When I'm watching this scene, I'm like, I don't remember him telling you anything like that in the last episode. Are you imagining shit, Deku? What do you mean he told you to do your best? I would have clocked the last Ganbare if it came from Shigaraki in the last episode. So I did go back and watch that scene of this episode before I rewatched a little while ago. And there is like a weird cut after Shigaraki has his smile moment. There's like a weird cut to black for a couple of seconds. And it's like, okay, that's like representative of the shift back to like the actual world. You're not in the vestige worlds anymore. That's what I assumed it was. But based on this conversation or this recollection Deku has, either Deku is completely fabricating a fucking memory to like soothe his psyche, which I don't think it is. Or they did this weird dramatic cut where you don't hear Shigaraki tell him that and you wait for Deku to share that with All Might. And you're basically in the same position of All Might when you hear that information. That he's the one who said, do your best. I don't know. I just thought it was like a weird choice. It wasn't exactly like clear if it was Deku making shit up in his brain or if he just strategically waited to tell that part of the story to us until he was in a hospital bed next to All Might. Anyway, All Might, blah, 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 saves his, yeah, you saved his soul. Way to go, Izuku Midoriya. Bakugo then learns that Izuku gave up one for all and will be quirkless again, causing him to break out in tears, thinking he would be able to keep competing against him. All right, this is going to be a really controversial thing that I'm about to say. But if you listen to my coverage of My Hero Academia, it's probably because you've listened to me talk about Dragon Ball for some extended period of time. And I really thought hard about this for like, I don't know, 60 seconds, 90 seconds following my first watch of this episode. I think it's official. Bakugo is Vegeta, but also better than Vegeta. He's a better character than Vegeta. We watched Bakugo have his end of the Cell games moment today. When Goku sacrifices himself, Gohan beats the big bad, Vegeta's like, shit. If Goku's not around for me to compete against and improve myself, have somebody to measure myself against, he's not around for that, I'm never going to fight again. I feel it's pointless. What am I going to aspire to if I don't have this person in my life anymore? Now, Bakugo obviously still has Deku in his life, but he's going to go back to being quirkless Deku, save for a few moments where he may or may not employ the embers of One for All. So this speech today, I told myself I wasn't going to read too much, but there's two other things that I want to read word for word, just so that way I don't do a bastardization of trying to talk about them fluently. And one of them is going to be Bakugo's speech just now. I'm going to read this. And the other one's Mirio a little bit later. But yeah, this Bakugo speech hit me hard. And I'm like, dude, this is Vegeta's speech, but like a 14, 15-year-old kid who is going to have PTSD for the rest of his life, may or may not regain the use of his arm, and just lost his fucking best rival after he just got to him as a best rival like a few months ago. What a kick in the nads. Bakugo is like a tragic hero given all this stuff that's happened to him and his ability to still come out of it on the other end alive somehow. Let me read this speech to you. So he starts to cry, and then Deku bugs out of just his skull with just the one eye, and he's like, "You're crying? Watch on," like the wambulance. Here's Bakugo's speech. "Oh man, no. For real? I mean, what the hell did I do to you? I guess I just thought we'd go on competing and chasing each other like this from now on. Cut that out. It's not like you. And the ember's still there for now. I can still punch you. You're upset because you got banged up. That's all. You got a concussion, bitch." And then All Might cuts in with his hero about his speech about how they're both respective heroes. So we go through All Might's recollection of them. The first day Deku ran to save Bakugo. The fact that Bakugo was the only reason that All Might is still alive. I guess the speech wasn't all that impactful. I guess it's really more, now that I've read it out loud, it's really more rooted in the performance and the fact that you're just watching this kid absolutely melt down and cry while having this realization about the kid he thought, the kid who inspired him to go to this level and become as amazing as he is and survive the way that he did. That person is now effectively no longer with us, from the hero perspective. I mean, he's still there as a person, but Bakugo is not going to be competing with him like that anymore. And it hits him like a 2-ton heavy thing. Any Queensrÿche fans out there? Probably not. I'm old. All right. Let's go back to the synopsis here. All Might proceeds to cheer the boys up, calling them both his heroes. I just said that. By June, the students return to UA as they finally put on their third-year graduation. Tamaki and Nejire receive their diplomas, and Mirio gives a speech about how they must look to the future to bring back what they've lost. I guess I'm going to read that one to you now, too, because honestly, I felt like this one was much more impactful than the Bakugo speech. Somehow, from a world-building perspective, like, yeah, the big bad's done now, and what's the overall mental makeup of the people who stand in the wake of that? Well, All for One is gone. Great. But now we're going through this big, repairing the world phase, which is great that we have quirks and it can accelerate the process. But what's the mental makeup of the people who just went through this actual fight? Let me read you Mirio's speech because he is a goofy ass bitch and I love him so much. Oh, also, before I read the speech, shout out to Principal Nezu, that bear or a raccoon or a puppy stuffed animal looking ass principal. He's been preparing to do the repairs before the battle even started, the battle with Jakku, which really kicked this whole thing off. So shout out to Principal Nezu, our favorite, landing all the way to the end of MF. Let's read Mirio's speech. My sincerest thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend our graduation. What? No jokes? No jokes, bitch. We've lost much and gained nothing. Hero's fight is typically always to move the needle from negative back to zero. General studies, the support course, the business course. All those students put the experience they've gained here to use and came together to fight as one. However, the needle still isn't back at zero. Our 3 years here are for the sake of what comes next. This day today is not the goal. There's no bright future in a world without humor. A world where the needle's in the positive and many people can smile. That's our finish line. Togota. You're watching, right, Night Eye? Love the Night Eye shout out. Today is the day we get started. And to all you current students, here's the big goofy ass joke. Jane, see ya. I don't understand exactly what this is, but if you watched it, he basically permeates through the wall behind him and then bursts out of it like the G that he is. But there's this big, statue woman, geisha looking lady with the makeup and the big eyelashes. It's a thing, but I guess that's the joke at the end. Either way, the speech he gives all the way up to that fucking bitch bursting through the wall. Amazing. Now we're going to talk about class 1A and all the things that are about to change for them because they're no longer class 1A. They'll be class 2A technically starting tomorrow. So by June, the students return to UA. We do the thing, blah, blah, blah. Former class, there we go. The former class 1A meet up in 2A. The Racerhead, once again as their teacher. Aoyama reveals that he will be leaving the class due to his role as all-for-one spy, wanting to atone in his own way. And then he's like, but I got a surprise. Guess who's subbing in for me? Hitoshi Shinso is then revealed to be taking his spot in the class. I said it last week. I'm curious to see what other storylines are going to run out for individual characters. We may have already seen several of them for smaller characters. Aoyama's decision to leave UA altogether. I guess not really a surprising one, but I like the fact that they addressed it. And having Shinso tap in for his spot in the class is just so perfect in a way that you give Shinso the cap on his arc. And I did not expect him to be one of the guys who would get it, but he is a fan favorite. So actually, it makes a lot of sense that they give him some sense of closure on his arc. In this 1A thing, and I talked about it a little earlier, I had the haircut spoiled for me, Deku's haircut. I have like a rule when I'm on dating apps where I'm swiping through the ladies. If a girl has a half shaved head, like on one side or whatever, like that undercut shave thing, it's an automatic no. She could be the most beautiful woman in the world, way out of my league, and still, when I see that side shaved thing, I swipe left like I'm fucking the biggest dick dude in the world. No fear, no reservation, swipe left. Hate this haircut. Now Deku's got that haircut. He looks stupid as hell. Shave your whole head at that point. Hopefully his hair grows back okay. It's been a little bit of time, like I presume at least like a month or two. I'm pretty sure the whole conflict kicked off in April, and now they just did graduation in June. I don't know. My point is the haircut looks terrible. There is another hair change to Todoroki as well that I want to talk about, but I'm going to lump that one with the general appearance of all of the Todorokis when we talk about this last, 5-6 minutes of the episode. Oh, also, and that it's not mentioned here in the recap, but they are visited by a new class or third year student who essentially comes in and tells them, yeah, we're going to be doing like restoration work going forward. So I imagine we're going to see the students do some big, teamwork spiel in one of these last couple episodes. But that's kind of more or less going to set the tone for what the school year is going to be for them, is going to be for them to continue to help rebuild the country and all the damage that was done during this battle. But Shoto is about to go visit somebody and cannot go to Aoyama's farewell party if it is indeed tonight. Speaking of Aoyama, when he does that little spin around thing with the lights coming out of his belly button and it's very bright, we do get to see Hagakure again. She was revealed. I think this is the third time that we've seen Hagakure lit up, for lack of a better term, or illuminated, maybe is a better word. Like we can actually see her physical form a little bit because of what's happening with the lights around her. We saw it last episode when she refracts a beam blast from One for All, or All for One, excuse me, away from Deku during the Gunplay theme scene. And then we see her again while Aoyama's doing his belly button beams. So just, I don't know. I think it's beautiful that the invisible girl this entire time, who's essentially been like a pair of gloves, she's this beautiful girl who obviously Mineta, now that he's had a couple of cool redeeming moments in the last few battles, he's got to fucking revert to perv mode, man. And he's like, what's up, baby? That face is pretty. Let me fuck it. Thankfully, Aizawa is aware of this horny bitch and, scoops him up with some tape. But again, it's like one of those other things that I said before, like I feel like I gloss over or miss so many things. So I needed to bring that one up today. All right. So to round this one out, finally, we have the name of this episode come into play in the last 7 minutes. The Hellish Todoroki Family final. Shoto and the gang, they're all leaving school. Shoto gets in a car and he's like, yeah, I got some shit to do. Hopefully that party's not today for Aoyama. And he leaves. So where does he go? I'll tell you. Later, Shoto meets up with the rest of his family to visit Toya, locked up in a life support unit, slowly on the verge of death. A crippled Endeavor reveals to Toya that he will be retiring as a hero, and even if it may be too late, he will still come to visit him every day to talk. Fuyumi and Rei both add how there's so much they still want to say to him, while Natsuo looks at him silently. Right as Toya reaches his limit for the day, Shoto asks him what his favorite food is. He responds, soba, which Shoto agrees with. Okay, so a few things here. Hellish Todoroki Family. Deku's haircut is symbolic of it as well. Todoroki's hair coming out of the other end of this battle. It's noticeably and decisively, intentionally much more rigid. So I do wonder if his hair is like frozen in that way now. And I can't really give you a reason as to why it would be, outside of maybe he just overused his ice powers so much in that battle that now his hair looks like it constantly has like just slightly frozen over after a light rain and then you go outside. When I had hair, that happened sometimes. I don't have hair no more, so I can't recall the feeling all that well, but I recall its existence. How about that? So Shoto, it looks different. Also, if you look at all of their faces in this scene, all of their faces look like it's dirty still. Like they just pulled themselves out of like a fucking collapsed building and they have soot or smoke all over their face. Endeavor gets the pass. He's like bandaged head to toe in a wheelchair. He's got a fucking stump for a hand now. Forgot he lost his arm. That one kind of took me for a second. But the whole family just looks forever changed after this battle. And obviously that's got to be an intentional thing. Shoto's the only one who looks changed for the better or for the cooler, excuse the pun, because the frozen hair look. But he seems like he's come out of the other side of this way better than any other member of his family. Like his mom looks like she's fucked up, some like a scar on her face. Endeavor is what he is. Katsuo, the brother, and Fuyumi with her weird hat. They both look like they aged like 15, 20 fucking years over the course of the last few months in this battle. It's remarkable how much the Todoroki family has changed. Visually speaking, they are indeed looking quite hellish, which I have to feel is the joke in that title, the Hellish Todoroki Family. They look like they just came straight out of hell. The soba line, though, they've hinted at it. Like, it was just adorable that Todoroki had a food that, like, a favorite food, and he talked about at a certain point in, like, you know, season 3 or something, and it's soba. It's like his favorite food ever. And I think they talked about it during the fight, the final fight that they had, like trying to, it's Todoroki's attempt to, like, you know, get to know his brother better. He knows his brother somewhere in there still. And for him to ask again, and for this time for Toya Dabi to, you know, have that moment where he apologizes to Shoto and tells him soba. And it's like, oh, you know, despite the fact that my family is going to start coming here every single day to talk to me for 5 fucking minutes. And that sounds really exhausting. It's nice that my little brother is just trying to get to know me on a pretty basic level and reestablish from square one and let some of that extra baggage go. Is how I took the soba question. So, damn, Todoroki, your quiet autism is inspiring. I think I got a few more sentences here. Greatest Toya reaches the limit. Soba, yeah, we love soba. The family leaves, and Toya begins to tear up, internally apologizing to Shoto. Natsuo states he is leaving with his girlfriend. Natsuo telling his family that he's getting out of here is the funniest fucking thing in the world. He's like, well, I'm good. I suppose I'll marry my girlfriend, and you guys aren't invited, so don't worry about that. You need a ride to his sister. So essentially, the Todoroki family is breaking up, or at least the 2 siblings are leaving and don't want to talk to Endeavor anymore, even though he's a, you know, repentant, retired hero going forward who's just trying to make good with his family. It was just really funny the way that he said, yeah, so I guess I'll just marry my girlfriend and you're not invited, so see you. Natsuo states he's leaving with his girlfriend, wanting nothing to do with Endeavor, while Fuyumi quit her teaching job, but will be getting a new one. Endeavor firmly states he will continue to take responsibility for the rest of his life. And by that, he means, I want to keep coming back here and talking to my fucking Attack on Titan looking son in the fucking chamber with his teeth exposed. The only thing that you can see in there, obviously, is his eyes. You can recall that's what Dabi's eyes looked like. It is very unsettling. Talk about a punishment. Talk about a hell that dude is going to have to endure. Not only from like a physical perspective of being in this chamber that's keeping you alive, Darth Vader style, but now your dad's like, I need redemption. I'm going to come visit you once a day, every day for the rest of my life, which probably going to be pretty long because I'm retiring from hero work and don't got much else to do now except recover from my injuries that I almost died from. We're kicking the Naz, dude. But that is the end of the synopsis for this week. Although I'll tell you one thing they did leave off at the end here. I'll tell you. Oh, also, before I tell you what that is, Endeavor does have this really cool line in his final monologue to Katsuo. Natsuo, excuse me. Natsuo. Katsuo. He's like, sorry that this happened, but I got invited to dance. I was like, yeah, he did say something like that to you before he challenged you. But the fact that you just brought it back around is so cool. Katsuo basically says as much. Like, damn, you're cool right now. Good job, old man. They don't mention at the end of the synopsis the fact that we see Hawks during the credits. So Hawks is presumably quirkless. I think he did have his quirk basically eradicated by All for One. So it doesn't look like he's regrowing his wings or his feathers, but he does send Endeavor a text message to check in, thus confirming that even though he was like a double, triple agent, whatever Hawks was, I think it was a triple agent, he still genuinely cares about Endeavor and is concerned about him as a friend. So that's nice to confirm that. But also, Hawks is officially the Public Safety Commission's president, which is the same organization that, if you remember the Hawks origin story, which I'm kind of fuzzy on, honestly, I saw the name Public Safety Commission president when he answers the phone. And I'm like, oh shit, that's the organization that like adopted him as a child and indoctrinated him into doing this double agent shit in the first place. Now he's going to be, I imagine the choices that agency made for him as a child impacted his brain pretty heavily. He still ends up being like this amazing hero and turns the tide of battle with all the toy stuff and the League of Villains stuff, right? But I imagine, internalized some stuff. And him being the president of the Public Safety Commission now, and that guy will be in a position to, I don't know, adopt children and use them as child soldiers going forward. Maybe he'll make some slightly better choices. Although hopefully he just doesn't make those types of choices at all, right? That's like the ideal outcome. So that's pretty much it for this episode today. I knew it was going to be a short one. The episode last week was, I don't want to say super long or anything, but like, I think last week's episode, because I did go on to rewatch it like 3 or 4 more times, I might revisit a few episodes after the season is wrapped up. Last week is certainly one of those episodes. Maybe with some guests or something. I'm not sure. I think Rayshawn is going to catch up on this shit soon. We'll see what he's up to, but maybe Feds, who knows? I do want to rewatch a few of these episodes though, and last week is certainly one of them, but once the season is wrapped in its entirety. For the preview for next week, a couple of fun things. I'm going to get to see Gentle Criminal and La Brava again. They're featured prominently in a shot or two, as is a visit between Spinner and Deku. Amped for that shit. But it looks like it's going to be, or it sounds like it's going to be, second half at least, and like this one was, like it was very front loaded with Deku Class 1A stuff, or 2A now. Congratulations, boys and girls. Second half was a Todoroki episode. I imagine next week will follow a similar structure. We have some stuff up front with Gentle and Spinner and Deku going to visit him in jail, and then an Ochako episode on the second half of that. The Girl Who Loves to Smile is the name of the episode, but also, isn't that like Toga's thing too, with her psycho smile? I don't know. Either way, that's going to do it for Super Dope this week. Thank you for checking this out. If you enjoyed what you listened to, which, if you did, fucking help me out. If you didn't, you checked out a while ago, and that's cool. I get it. I would have too. If you enjoyed what you listened to this week, make sure you rate and subscribe wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify primarily. There's an audio version that goes up on YouTube as well. Hit the like button or whatever the fuck there. And I will see you for the next 2 episodes of the final episodes of Boku no Hero Academia. Arguably one of the greatest animes that we're ever going to see, front to back story in total. I'll die on that hill. Also, Bakugo's better than Vegeta. I can't believe I said that shit out loud today. Recorded it. I'm going to edit myself saying it. I'm going to put it out there as like a fact. Gonna raise my hand with the peace sign. Bakugo is better than Vegeta. I'm serious.